bottle is a mustard seed. Then nurture it, water it, grow it into that tree in your rainforest. We will be highlighting one of the prevalent social issues in our society. That we love and trust, and by people that are strangers. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from the heart of the motherland, we bring you our reality with Skye. Prepare to be blown away by the pharmacist himself. He is here to give us simple tips and tricks on effective ways to improve our health. Are you ready?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. As always, it is a pleasure to be back on the show with the wonderful Skye. I am so happy to be here. My name is Promise. I am a pharmacist by profession, and I also am indelible. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yes, I call him Mr. Indelible because the first time I met him, he left an indelible mark on me, and he was giving me tips on how to take care of myself.
Yes.
And these tips he's going to share with you, our viewers. Now, let's tell them, should we start from the head
Yes.
or the bottom? Should we start top to bottom or bottom to top?
Top to bottom.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's do this.
So, ladies and gentlemen, when last did you do anything special for your hair? And I'm not talking about that special shampoo or that day at the spa. I mean, like maybe biotin. That's a strange one now, isn't it?
Right.
Exactly. Well, it's basically a B vitamin, which
Right.
is very good for hair growth. If you take it, you should see results within 90 days, give or take. So if you're having like edging problems, if you're having like male pattern baldness, if you're on the early stages of alopecia, hair loss, things like that,
Okay.
that's a very suitable option to take on. There's also other options like minoxidil,
Right.
which you can get from your local pharmacist.
Right.
It's a hair foam. You use it once a day. You might need to keep using it, but then it does give you results.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, of course.
Now, I came to you with a shampoo that stated that it had biotin in it.
Yes.
And you almost slapped me.
Okay, I wouldn't say slap, but I had to really go back to the science books for that one.
Okay, great.
Because what I was taught was that hair is keratin. It is.
Right.
It's not alive. If it was, each time you cut it, you would be screaming in pain. It's
Right.
basically dead protein. So
Right.
it's really difficult to say that it absorbs something and then does something when it's not alive. That's like saying your fingernails can absorb things and then change the nature that they have. So that's not really physically possible. However, from the interior, you can do things. And then if you use products that are applied to the hair roots, so if you're taking, like for instance, the shampoo you showed me was advertised to have collagen and biotin.
Right.
And then from what I understand, the skin doesn't necessarily absorb collagen.
Okay,
Not
great.
when ingested as a tablet or when used as a cream,
Oh, really?
apparently.
So,
But then there's different research out there, there's a bit of an argument about it because these are all new on the market.
yeah.
So information is still being discovered about them. They're still carrying out trials and studies. But for the most part, anyone who's been in practice will tell you it's good for your joints.
Okay.
But then they don't really see how the skin absorbs it from the stomach. It basically will get digested most of the time.
Okay, so the tablets were not recommended.
In most places, you will find they're not recommended.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Let's go down.
Okay.
So we've talked about the hair.
That's just for the hair.
Okay.
When you come to the face, we have a lot of features on the face. We have our lovely eyes, we have our little nostrils, and our big ears that stick out on the side. So why don't we start with our lovely eyes?
Okay.
Vitamin A. I don't think it gets much better than that. Just to keep it simple, you should take a multivitamin supplement that contains vitamin A. You should try and eat foods that contain that, even if you can't do so constantly.
Right.
If you can do so from time to time, it's really good. It
Right.
really does improve your vision. It prevents blurriness. It helps to
Right.
focus your vision. It's
Right.
really good. If you want more information about it, there's other things you can also use, but I would really advise speaking to your local community pharmacist about them.
Okay.
But for the most part, some vitamin A really goes a long way for your vision.
All right. Next.
Next would be your nostrils. The nose doesn't really give us a problem unless it catches a cold, you know. So try to manage the symptoms if you do have a cold.
All
But
right.
then if you do not have a cold, then you don't really need to be disturbing your nose as much. I
Okay.
don't. Well, it's really left to your own personal decisions. But then I don't really recommend piercings like on the nose and parts of the body, because first off, if you're not good at maintaining it, it really does expose you to infection. It's not a gamble, it's not a guess. The site will get infected, and there's a number of consequences that come with that that you may not want to deal with as an individual. So that's just on a side note. But then, if you're going to trim the hair in your nostrils, only trim them. Try not to turn it into a desert in there without vegetation, because they do have a function. If you don't have something that filters the air, it exposes your lungs and your throat to even more pathogens in the air. So trim, but don't shave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And then we can move on to the ears. I'll just keep going on. I'll just keep going
Okay.
on.
Great.
Yeah.
Right.
So with our ears, the first thing you want to pay attention to is your hearing. Is there a change in your hearing? Is it reducing on one side? This happens, but most people don't really pay attention to it.
No.
Is there discharge from your ear? Are you finding it difficult to even clean your ear? Do you feel like if water gets in, it never comes out? People have a number of complaints when it comes to the ears. But if you really just want to make sure that you have good ear health, of recent, it was recommended, I believe, by the World Health Organization, that you shouldn't continue using the Q-tips because they push wax into the ear. So they're not really
Really?
effective at cleaning out the ear in so much as they cause more problems. And then when that happens, you might need to see an ENT doctor
So
where
what do
they
you
would
do?
use a saline wash. So what I would recommend is from time to time, even if you're going to use a Q-tip, like try not to go all the way into the ear. But better yet, the new advice is let some warm, clean water, or even if it's a saline solution, go into your ear and come out, and then you clean off any runoff discharge. So that would help to soften any wax in the ear and bring it out, and that way you
Okay.
don't have to be intrusive, because it's a very small canal and it's very delicate. If you put a sharp object, you could rupture your eardrum. So you really want to be careful with that. Yeah.
All right. So I have a quick question before we take a break.
Okay.
Now, the saline solution, is it store-bought or can we do the salt water thing? No?
It would naturally be salt water, but
Okay.
then I would recommend, of course, using clean water.
Okay,
You
great.
wouldn't use something that is already contaminated to prevent the risk of infection. Yeah.
Very
Or
nice.
better yet, if you can get one from your local chemist, just a saline solution or an ear rinse, it's really so much better than the alternatives.
Very nice.
Yeah.
We'll ponder all you said. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The pharmacist himself has been telling us how to take care of ourselves from top to bottom. He started with the hair, we're now at the ears. Let's move on.
Okay, so after the ears, we have our little orifice canal. I'm going to call it that. You might know it as the mouth. That's a funny word, isn't it? Orifice.
I like it.
Anyway,
It means opening, right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
You
my
see,
mind went
I
somewhere
know.
else in there.
I know my health stuff.
That
Okay,
was very
so
good. Oh
yeah.
yes. The mouth is one of our most versatile body parts. You
Right.
can use it for speaking. You can use it for tasting. I really, the options are limitless. It depends
All right.
on you. But then there's not so much you can do when it comes to taking care of it.
All right.
There are only a few things that I would consider commandments. Number one, brush twice a day, please.
Oh,
Brush your teeth twice a day. You eat, you're gonna have sugar, you're gonna have food particles stuck in your teeth. You wanna brush and you wanna floss.
okay.
And then add on a mouth rinse. It's only for your own benefit, really.
Alright.
If you can stick to those 3 commandments, you should be just fine. If you want to whiten your teeth, I don't really recommend doing it on your own. You
Okay.
should probably visit a dentist who's more
Okay.
professional, so that way they know exactly what they're doing and you're not gambling with yourself. But please, please, and please, brush twice a day. Yeah. And change your toothbrush. It is recommended to change it every 3 months, but I say in 1 month. It picks up a lot of germs. You know,
Okay.
why are you keeping it? The bristles are bent to the side and you're still
Right. I'm
using
still
it.
using it
That's like
hard.
it's gonna hurt your gums. And pay attention to your gums as well. Like, are they a good color? Is it changing?
What's
Are
the
they?
right color? Is it pink? Pinkish brown? Does
It
it
is
depend on how
recommended.
dark your skin tone is? I think it
Yes,
does,
there is
yes.
an element of that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
for
yeah.
some people, they do actually have melanin in
Right.
the gums, so it
Right.
makes it look darker.
Right.
It's hereditary, so it runs in the family.
Great.
Most people don't. So if you have it, you will have it. You'll know it's always been that way. But if you
Great.
don't, and you're going from bright pink to black
Brown.
or
Yeah.
brownish
Right.
or really dark, then I would really suggest either seeing a dentist or
Great.
speaking to your physician just to have it investigated to be sure. There could be a number of reasons, but we don't need to go into that. If that's the case, just speak to your dentist.
Okay, now we're going to the neck. So I recently lost a lot of weight. I used Skye herbs and lost a lot of weight. So I'm noticing that my neck is now a little longer. It seems longer, but I think it's more pronounced now. So how do I take care of this neck? You know, the skin there, you know, that sort of thing. Because it's now there. I didn't used to have so much of a neck. I lost like 20 kg.
Okay.
So it's now very pronounced. How do I take care of it?
Well, one of the things about weight loss you have to be very conscious about is that when you lose the weight, the skin doesn't necessarily bounce back
Right.
to how it was.
Right.
Because the skin is elastic. It's the same principle with any elastic. If you stretch it long enough, it can become a bit slack.
Right.
But then that generally happens over time anyway. And one of the things that helps the skin with elasticity is collagen,
Right.
of course.
Right.
So one way to help maintain that in the skin, I suppose, is to eat foods that might boost collagen production. Now, I'm
Okay.
not really sure of any per
Okay.
se that do that, but then using supplements and multivitamins that contain things like chromium,
Okay.
selenium, and zinc are really, really good for memory. They're good for the skin. They're good for the immune system as well.
Very nice.
And then you can use that with if you visit your local pharmacist, you can ask for a hair, skin, and nail combination. That's also
Okay.
really good.
Okay.
It should contain biotin and a few other ingredients in it that are very good for the skin. So that's one way.
Right.
And then the skin should also be moisturized. Yes, we don't
Okay.
do that enough, especially
Right.
we here are in a very arid environment. You know.
Right.
It's very easy for the body to lose water, and if you're not replenishing that water, one of the quickest ways to notice that is in the texture of the skin.
Skin.
It's more prone to dryness, the elasticity is not so much again. Like, all these things can be avoided if we
Okay.
just moisturize and, of course, stay well hydrated.
Does my
That's
skin look
always a
dry?
good thing. Of course, your skin does not look dry. Are you kidding me?
I wasn't fishing for compliments. So what's next now? After
Okay.
the neck, where do we go?
Well, we move down to the body.
Okay.
There is not so much you can do in terms of maintaining it. Like,
Okay.
have a shower twice a day,
Okay.
use a good deodorant, one that
Right.
agrees with your skin,
Right.
and use it as directed. So I
does that
find
mean?
that some people, when they use a deodorant spray, they don't really measure the distance. Today you're holding it here, and then tomorrow it's there, and then next tomorrow it's not even aimed at the armpits. It's just like that all over, you know. I mean, kudos to you. Like, I'm happy that you can be creative with it, but then it is recommended to do what 10 to 15 centimeters away from the skin in the armpits in a well
Okay, so
aerated environment.
show us what 10 to 15 centimeters is.
So it's roughly about there.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Okay.
roughly.
Right.
Yeah. So you don't want it too close to the skin or too far, because then it can also have an effect on the skin.
Right.
And you also want to be in a well ventilated environment when you use it,
Right.
because it's not exactly containing the most healthy chemicals, if you will.
Yeah, it
you
could
know.
be toxic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna use a deodorant, do it away from where you're currently dressing up. Go in the
Alright.
bathroom, do it, come away from there so you don't have to breathe it in.
Nice.
It may feel harmless, but then it's really not advised.
All right. Where are we going next?
We're going lower down.
Go on. Take it
Okay.
away.
Before we go there, you can talk about the hands.
Okay.
You know, if you drive a vehicle, good chance that your hand is going to be in the sun like that, you know. So you find some people who also drive and they have to rest the arm on the window like that. So you experience sunburn that goes from there all the way across the hands, you know.
Okay.
So you might see someone who, if they have really good cosmetic antics, they have a fair face, maybe a fair neck,
Yeah.
black hands,
Right,
black
right,
feet, you know.
right,
And then some
right.
people make a joke about it and say, oh yeah,
Yeah.
now they've gone to go and do the skin bleaching and
Yeah,
all that,
because
you know.
I take care of people's skin as well. And I noticed that the hands are typically darker
Yes.
than. So you're saying this is from exposure of the sun while
Yes.
driving, typically.
Typically, it
Oh,
could
I
be
did not
just
know
even
that.
functioning. Like if you're
Right.
someone who goes out in the afternoon when there's sunlight, as long as you're exposed to UV rays, it will have an effect on the skin. So we're black. It doesn't mean we don't get sunburned. You
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
we do get darker. The more we're exposed to the sun, the more melanin the skin is going to produce, the darker we will look.
I don't know that. I don't burn. So
Okay.
how do you know when you have sunburn? I don't think I.
You would have to compare it to the rest of your body. So, like for instance, your chest area is not often exposed to the sun. Your midsection is not often, your torso is not often exposed to the sun. And if you use the mirror, you would find that just by holding even just like your hand against and comparing complexions, there's a big difference. It's very common.
Okay. Yeah.
And most people don't pay attention to it because they don't care about cosmetics that much.
Right.
But for those that do, if you're gonna, and I do say if sparingly, if you're gonna get a product to
Okay.
use to balance out your complexion, please, please, and please follow either the instructions of someone who is well versed in the subject that can give you detailed instructions of what to do precisely when and how you need to do it, like Skye over here, or speak to your dermatologist.
Very nice, very nice. You've given us a lot to think about. I've learned a lot, and I am still imbibing all that you were saying. Still love you, Mr. Indelible. Our viewers will be reaching out to you. But as we're pondering that, we'll be right back.
Okay.
Welcome back, viewers. We're talking health from top to bottom. We just finished talking about the torso, and then we
Yes.
talked about the hands before then. So, what next?
Well, now we can move down to the genitalia. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's usually a topic of interest because it's it can be a little bit embarrassing to open
Okay.
up about things that people go through there.
Right.
So you'd really want to confide in your doctor or in a really close family member, you know. And some people tend to keep it to themselves, you know.
Right.
But then if you notice anything out of the ordinary, it's always best to speak to your physician. There is no harm in that. And
Right.
just being sure that if it's out of the ordinary, it's not a problem.
Okay.
And now examples of things to look out for. Let's start with women.
Okay.
The very common one that will happen in most women is discharge. You know.
Right.
Every woman at some point in her life will have a discharge. It could be a good one, it could be a bad one. So it's usually a result of either her hormonal cycles
All right.
or it could be a result of an infection, which could be viral, bacterial, fungal, or protozoan. But then you are looking out for any discharge, anything that smells out of the ordinary, looks out of the ordinary. Is it like little cheese curd discharge? Is it yellowish and fish smelly or foul, you know?
Right.
Anything out of the ordinary. Is it itchy? Is it red? Is it inflamed?
Right.
You know, do you find relations, let me put it that way, to
Right.
be more painful than it needs to be? Does it
Right.
really seem odd to you that it should still be that way? Then
Right.
yes. And then of course there are a number of sexually transmitted infections that
Okay.
are asymptomatic in women but symptomatic in men and vice versa.
Really?
Yes.
So, which ones are asymptomatic?
Well, for instance, chlamydia.
Chlamydia. Yes, I've
Yes,
heard that. Yes.
exactly. And then there's also gonorrhea.
Oh, really?
So sometimes in women, gonorrhea is asymptomatic, but in the men, you do get the discharge,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And then sometimes in a man, chlamydia is asymptomatic from the get-go, but then
Okay.
it can cause, I forgot the word for it.
Not
Going back.
HPV.
HPV is a different virus
Okay.
altogether,
Okay.
but chlamydia on its own, if it's untreated, it can make a man infertile.
Oh, really?
Yes, it can make a man go infertile after a short period of time.
Really?
But it varies, and that's one of the reasons why it should be tested as much as often, because you don't really get a discharge, you don't really get things like that. But then,
So you just randomly go test yourself or what?
yes, if you have a very active sexual lifestyle,
Okay.
that's the least you can do. And
Really?
yeah.
And when you say very active, what does that mean? Because,
For instance, if you have more than one partner,
okay.
that really is the ideal situation to make
Okay,
sure you're
great.
testing. But if you do have just one partner, but then you have symptoms of something you're uncertain, you should still test. So it's not
Right.
really based on partner fidelity per se, you
Right.
know.
Right.
But yeah,
Because you
there's
never
that.
know, really.
And then for the guys,
Right.
of course, you have to think about the crown jewels, if you know what I mean. You have to inspect them with your
I'm
hands.
sorry, I don't no. Oh,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I get it now.
okay,
Okay,
yes.
great.
So
Yes.
the crown jewels,
Jules.
you know, like you should. Okay,
Oh my
let me be serious. Let me be serious. You
God.
should,
Okay.
from time to time, just feel around them. Is there
Okay.
anything out of the ordinary? Is there a bump? Is there tenderness? Is there pain? Is there swelling? Does it feel like you have worms in there? You know, that's a very common condition when
Right,
you
right,
have
right, right,
inflammation.
right.
You know, is there any sort of like dull ache that comes when you do
Okay.
physical activity?
Okay.
You can even check the sides of your thighs down there. Do you
Okay.
have any sort of swelling sensation? That could be a
Okay.
hernia. So I'm not asking anyone to self-diagnose,
Okay.
but then we don't always have the time to go to a doctor. So in your free time, if you can do a little bit of self-examination, it would at least help point you in the right direction.
Oh, that's interesting because I
Yes.
didn't know that men were supposed to actually
Yes.
take care of their crown jewels.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
us ponder all you said, and when we come back, we'll delve deeper. Welcome back. We're learning a lot. So, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Now, for the ladies, is it better to wash or wipe after, number one?
Well, there are pros and cons to both options. So if you're gonna wash and you are in a convenient position to do so, because it's not often that convenient,
Right.
please use warm water. Please don't use any soap. If you're gonna use one, maybe use one that's an intimate wash for women. You
Okay.
can get those now.
Right.
That's a better option. But if you're gonna wipe, then you should not be using scented
Scented
tissue
tissue.
papers for
Yes.
starters.
Yes.
Like we'll just keep it to the basics.
Right.
You know, you don't want to be abrasive as well. You're not fighting with it, so you can
Okay.
pat it and try to be as non-invasive as possible. Yeah, so you don't introduce foreign elements into the vagina, more or
Okay.
less.
That's the general part. A lot of people don't know, so it's
True.
good that you're telling us. Now let's go down, further down.
Okay, so then all that's left is the beautiful pair of feet. Yeah, everyone has them.
Right.
And we don't pay as much attention to them because they're always there, they're always reliable. You know, you
Right.
really don't get problems with your legs.
Yes.
But I'll give you a good reason why you should pay attention to your feet hygiene. First off, there is a medical condition which is very popular, diabetes. And one of the side effects of this condition, if you will, is that it is known to cause foot ulcers. So, if you notice an injury on your foot that's not healing, it's getting worse, it's been maybe a couple of weeks, going on a couple of months, there's no progress, I would strongly suggest getting that investigated by a physician
Okay.
because it could be a side effect of diabetes, but that's one. Other common foot conditions are things like athlete's foot.
Okay.
You know, that one is more rampant. It's a fungal infection. It can be fairly harmless but really inconvenient because it occurs between the toes and under the toes. And this happens when you expose the feet to a moist environment where the fungi can thrive. So if you just have a shower or if you like do sports and you have to use a gym locker room where there's other people, there's like a communal shower. So it's all wet, there's water everywhere. And because you have to move quickly, you walk to the water and then you put on your socks and then you put on your shoes. That's not recommended. Or better yet still, don't repeat your socks. Why would you repeat your socks? If you wear it today, wash it. Don't wear it
Okay.
tomorrow, truthfully,
Wow.
because there's going to be sweat. It's going to absorb sweat. It's going to have bacteria. So all it needs is a bit more sweat to create that same moist environment where this fungi can thrive. And if indeed you are experiencing any of those symptoms, or if you are seeing any injuries under the foot and you feel it might be athlete's foot, don't panic.
Right.
Okay, You can get medication over the counter that should get rid of it within a week to 3 weeks, more or less.
Okay,
Depends on how
great.
severe it is. So it could be a cream or a powder or
Right.
otherwise. Yeah.
Love it. Now, when you said don't repeat your socks, that is a lot of people do, even the
Exactly.
boxers. Is it okay to do that for the men?
I really don't recommend that. No, no. Do you know what happens during the course of a day? Your skin cells are going to shed. You are going to give off so much bacteria on the skin. Like, it's going to be multiplying from the moment you finish your shower.
Right.
The bacteria and the fungi left on the skin started replicating again.
What about those things that women are wearing now to hold their tummy in? So they wear them from the bottom.
Ah, yes, the body shapers and
yes.
things like that.
So they wear them from the bottom. Now, women don't typically. I want to be careful about this. Women don't. Well, people wear them more than once. What do you say?
I'd say if you're using it and you can see that it's becoming sweaty and dirty, actually, yeah, maybe more than once, but definitely not more than twice.
Okay, great. I
Yeah.
like that.
And
I like that.
these were designed to be support items. So when you're wearing it, you're supposed to be exercising. So if you are in it sweaty and dirty,
Right.
why are you wearing it again?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So pay attention to your undergarments.
Exactly.
And boxers once a day?
The guys are not going to be happy
They're
about
not.
this one.
I had
Please
to
wash
end
your
with that.
boxes.
Yeah.
Please, please, please.
You're right.
You might not experience anything, but it doesn't mean that nothing is
It's
there.
going
So
on.
stay
Yes,
clean.
yes,
Please.
yes.
Thank you.
So what we suggest, because we'd like to provide answers, is that you have 7.
If
At
possible.
least 7. That way you're not tempted to repeat,
Yes.
and then by the weekend you're able to wash if you're a busy person.
Or better still, you can look into more time-saving solutions, invest in a washing machine so that, all you have to do is just put it there.
Right, right. That makes
I
a
mean,
lot
that's
of
easy,
sense.
just put it there. Yeah.
Just throw it in the wash. All right, our viewers, you've heard it from the pro, the Don, the pharmacist himself, Mr. Indelible. He's
Love
given
that
us he's giving us tips and tricks on how to stay healthy, top to bottom. We cannot thank him enough. We blow him kisses, we give him hugs. You guys send your feedback to me and I will send them to him because I have been schooled on what to do to stay alive, pretty much. That's our show. Goodbye.